It looks like a decision may be made in the Broncos quarterback battle as early as next week. And spoiler, I think it's going to be an announcement that Bo Nix is the starting quarterback for week 1. So all of that coming up on today's show, along with the Justin Simmons update regarding his free agency status. So plenty to get to on this episode. But quick plug here, we're going to be live yet again for another watch party, preseason week 2. And this one might be the most important preseason game of all 3. If Bo Nix comes out and delivers the goods, I think he's going to be named the starting quarterback. So don't miss a thing. Hang out with us. We'll be live 30 to 60 minutes before kickoff. So come to our watch party and hit that thumbs up button if you're going to be in attendance. But Sean Payton was recently chatting with Kay Adams, who visited Broncos training camp, and he talked about Bo Nix, of course, and here's what he said. We found a really talented player. He's got plenty of arm. The ball comes out fast. It's hard to sack him. And then later on in their little interview, when asked about a decision being made, he said, sooner than later, relative to how these guys finish out this next preseason game. I think we're going to get a Bo Nix starting quarterback announcement next Tuesday. That last word was important to me. Next preseason game. He didn't say preseason games, right? He didn't want to wait till the final preseason game was over against the Cardinals. It looks like Sean Payton's going to make up his mind after 2 preseason games, and I think it's going to be Bo Nix if, and this is a big if, he does not just come out and, pardon my French, shit the bed. Like, as long as Bo Nix looks even like 80% of what we saw in the Indianapolis game. Now, it's going to be a little bit different because he'll be running with the first-team offense, and that's going to mean he'll likely be going up against the Packers' first-team defense-ish, whoever Green Bay plays. So that's going to be a factor into how successful he is compared to going up against the Colts' second and third stringers. But I'm ready to plant my flag right now and say, Bo Nix, starting quarterback for your Denver Broncos. That will be announced next Tuesday. They play Sunday. Monday feels like a good, hey, let's get in the facility. Let's watch the film. Let's not rush to a judgment decision. And then Tuesday they can come out and say, yeah, Bo Nix is our guy. In week 1 against the Colts, he went 15 for 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. He showed the coaching staff a little bit of everything, right? The mobility was there, down the field passing, smart decision-making, avoiding sacks, staying on time, staying on schedule. So everything Sean Payton probably wanted to see from Bo Nix, and albeit not a huge sample size, just 21 pass attempts, he got a little bit of everything. But if Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham continue to go, to the wire here, I think the tie is going to go to Nix. The guy was the first-round draft pick. Like, we can try and play this game of like, oh, the Broncos are going to want to put out whoever the best is for week 1. And I think there's some truth to that. But, man, when you're taking round 1, you're going to start at some point. And if it's that close, the tie's going to go to the first-round pick. And that's not necessarily the most fair thing in the world, but that's kind of the way the NFL operates. Now, I feel a little bit for Jarrett Stidham because I don't think Jarrett Stidham has all of a sudden had a really bad camp. Like, I don't think at any point Jarrett Stidham started going downhill. It's just that Bo Nix in his first preseason game, I think he saw and learned a little bit in himself like, yeah, I can do this, right? Hadn't played against the best of the best before. I mean, haven't played at the NFL level, but after that first preseason game, I'm sure he was filled with a ton of confidence. The coaching staff saw that's a player that can compete at this level. And at that point, it feels like all eyes are on Bo Nix. And I kind of have a little bit of sympathy for Stidham because he didn't have a bad preseason game. Samaje Perine dropped what would have been an easy completion and resulted in an interception and ended that drive. Like, Jarrett Stidham has done pretty much everything I think they could have asked him to do. But at the end of the day, he's not the first-round pick, and he's not the chosen future franchise quarterback of this team. Now, if you are excited for the Bo Nix era to get underway, hit that thumbs up button down below. On our last video, we reached, I believe, a channel record 1.5 thousand likes. So I really, really appreciate everyone for liking our last video. But I don't want to stop right now. We're not settlers. Let's beat that number. Go ahead, hit the thumbs up button down below if you're excited for the next era of Broncos football to get underway. Now, next up on the show, I want to talk about Zach Wilson potentially winning the QB2 battle because there has been some chatter after his preseason game against the Colts that maybe Zach Wilson, who went from kind of being the distant third runt in this quarterback race, could ultimately come out as the backup quarterback and then wait for a Stidham trade maybe. I know, that's kind of gone a little bit sideways. But here are the numbers from their week 1 game in Indianapolis. Like I said, Bo Nix going 15 for 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. Zach Wilson went 10 for 13, 117 yards. We'll talk about him in more detail in just a moment. But Stidham, who didn't have as long of a runway as the other 2 quarterbacks, he went 4 for 7, 37 yards. He had 2 nice first down passes early in his drive. Again, a Samaje Perine caused interception kind of ended his afternoon, and Bo Nix sort of stole the spotlight after that. But that's kind of the NFL, right? Don't get ready, stay ready, so that when your number is called, you're ready to perform. Bo Nix was ready. He didn't have to get ready, and he delivered the goods, and now all eyes are on him, and that's just the way sports work, right? When your number is called, if you come through with a big performance and you put up good numbers, like, they're not going to go back to the old guy. Go ask Drew Bledsoe about that, not once, but twice. But could Zach Wilson really emerge as the QB2? I'm not going to go as far to say that. I think there are still some ways to go in terms of Zach Wilson overtaking Jarrett Stidham for that QB2 spot. Now, here's the Broncos depth chart. This is just the one the team announced. In all reality, we know how it stands. It's Jarrett Stidham, QB1, Bo Nix, QB1A, and then Zach Wilson, QB3. But I don't believe we're going to see Wilson overtake Stidham for that QB2 job. I'm going to pump the brakes on that. I think all 3 quarterbacks are going to make this 53-man roster. At which point, if Bo Nix is the week 1 starter, it's somewhat irrelevant in terms of who the backup is. Like, hopefully we never have to answer that question and Bo Nix stays healthy and plays awesome, and it doesn't matter who would have come off the bench if that situation arises. But I don't think we're going to see Wilson establish himself as the clear-cut number 2. I don't think Stidham's done anything horribly wrong to demote himself on this depth chart. So at the end of the day, I maintain the thought that all 3 quarterbacks make this 53-man roster, and Stidham, if he's not the starter, he's not going to be the third stringer also. Or he's not going to fall to third string. He'll be the backup. Also, I'll just add this really quickly. Jarrett Stidham is not getting traded. I saw a couple of Vikings fans chatting about, hey, with J.J. McCarthy gone, maybe the Vikings should trade for Jarrett Stidham just to bring in a little competition for Sam Darnold and or some good backup veteran presence right there. No, I don't think that Sean Payton has any interest in all at trading Jarrett Stidham. Remember, he signed him to a nice 2-year, $10 million contract. Like, as much of a love connection that might be made right now between Nix and Stidham, like, let's not forget about Sean Payton's first true love when he came to Denver. He gave Stidham a nice big contract for a guy that only had 2 career starts at that time. So he clearly saw a lot in Stidham. I don't think he's ready to pack him up and ship him to Minnesota just because the Vikings need some help at quarterback. Like, I think Sean Payton values Stidham over a 2025 6th-round draft pick, whatever you'd get for Stidham. So I don't think we're going to see a Stidham trade. I'd be shocked if that happened. Now, if you made it to the end of the video, let me know in the comment section by dropping any emoji. This is kind of my way of knowing who watches all the way to the end. So we still have one more segment to get to, but I just want to show some love to those of you that don't stop. Now, before we talk about Justin Simmons, if you want to get your Bo Nix gear going, go to chatsports.com/Nix shirt. You can get this Bo Nix t-shirt jersey. I love jerseys because they are much cheaper than jerseys, and they still kind of get the same message across. Plus, right now, they're 25% off at chatsports.com/Nix shirt. So if you go get yourself a Bo Nix jersey, take a picture of you wearing it, tweet it at me at Matthew Peterson, or email it to me, Matthew@chatsports.com, and I'll put it on a future Broncos Breakdown episode to show you some love. To wrap up the video, though, I do want to share and relay the latest on Justin Simmons. Former teammate of his, Swirling Craven, he tweeted out, per source, free agent safety Justin Simmons is finalizing a deal with the Atlanta Falcons. Specifics of the deal to come. Simmons is coming off one of his best seasons at the position. Welcome to the A, Justin. You know, good for Justin Simmons. No ill will against him, of course, whatsoever. He's one of my favorite players from the Broncos over the last handful of seasons. So I wish him the best. We should all be kind of pulling for him to have a nice, strong season. I still don't understand how he went this long without getting signed. I'm not sure if that was a Justin Simmons decision or if the phone wasn't ringing, but I think a lot of teams are going to regret not adding Justin Simmons. The guy is still a top 10 safety in my opinion, and I think it's closer to 1 than 10. So best of luck to him in Atlanta. I think he's going to crush it. I think the Falcons got a good one here. And Simmons, congratulations, and look forward to, well, we'll get that for Simmons' return because the Falcons come to Denver. So that'll be a fun game now that I think about it. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, you know the drill. Hit the sub button down below. Get yourself the best free Broncos content out there, and I'll catch you all later.